The Fantasy Football Show.
Hello everybody and welcome to The Final Plan, the show each and every Friday where James and I run down our teams and what we've got planned for this weekend. How are you?
I'm alright, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I know this show wants to get hijacked by Daniel Levy, Jose Mourinho, Tottenham talk because that's been much of the news in the last 2 days. It doesn't feel like it was literally only 2 days ago that we found out about Pochettino's sacking. Feels like longer.
Does it?
Yeah, it feels like longer to me.
I'm still coming to terms with it, I think, a little bit. Should we talk FPL first and then we can do all the Spurs?
We can talk FPL first. Gameweek 13, some interesting games this weekend. Not as many clear-cut captaincy options, perhaps. Do you know what you're doing?
No. First, I've got to be brutally honest. I had a little look at a few things last night, and it's probably the first time I give it any headspace over this last week at all. I'm waiting very much on Tom Heaton news, who's doubtful, and I'd like to keep him for this week with one of the better fixtures this weekend with the Monday night game at home to Newcastle. But even if he's out, I don't really know what I'm doing as an immediate, because the move I'd like to make is Gator, but it's a week early.
Yeah.
With them playing Liverpool tomorrow. So don't feel in a rush to do that. I've still got Pookie and Cantwell in the squad. And Mendy. Cantwell and Mendy have lost me a bit of value this week, so they're the least of the priorities, whereas Pookie's obviously going to be moving on. So if Heaton's past fit, I'm going Pookie to Muse or Jordan Ayew, which then will allow me the Cantwell to... I still think I'm going to go Wilfried Zaha next week, and we'll leave it at that. I think I'm generally happy with the majority of the squad. I really want to get in a position going in towards game week 18 where I'm looking at a stronger bench at the moment.
Yeah, we did talk about that on the Liver Blank episode, where now's the time to start upgrading and planning for that.
I mean, if I rolled now, I would be leaving Pookie on the bench tomorrow at Everton. So don't feel like I'm in crisis stage.
No. Okay. I've got two yellow flags. One is the same that you got in Andy Robertson, but he's trained and he looks perfectly fine.
We don't really know if they have or they haven't. So,
well, he posted pictures of himself joking around with Trent Alexander-Arnold.
There was an article that went round on Tuesday on Sky's app or website, which should immediately make you very suspicious, by the way. International Week, slow news day. Yeah, that they were out. Robertson and Salah were out at the weekend, and I think it was just rehashing kind of old news that wasn't nothing had been confirmed from Liverpool or anything. Then there was a rumor that they definitely trained yesterday. Then there was another rumor that they only took part in the non-contact training first. So I don't think we know. Klopp speaks at 1 o'clock today. Let's wait for that.
Yeah, sure. I'm not subbing him out or moving him on.
No chance.
For any sense. I've got Edison as well with a flag. Edison has trained right this week. I think you were the one that told me that Edison had trained on Tuesday.
Edison, I believe, has been training since Monday.
Yeah, and even if he's at 80%, you'd rather have him than Bravo.
Yeah. I'd probably lower that percentage somewhat.
Yeah, I was trying to be generous there.
I think so.
Yeah, so Edison hopefully should play. Robertson should play. Trent, Robertson and Lundstrom will be my back three as was last week. Jamie Vardy, Mason Mount, Maddison, Kevin De Bruyne are all locks for me as well. The three that had been on the chopping block or potentially on the chopping block had been Son, Callum Wilson and Yarmolenko. And I'm in a bit of a no man's land with all three of them now. Son I actually want to keep. I find he's just consistent and is always ticking along and has one in every 4 or 5 games will get into 11, 12, 15 points, double-digit returns when he plays well. Although there is the confusion around what's going to happen with Mourinho, I still think Son's a good pick.
Can I just sum up Tottenham briefly in FPL because I know I'll forget to say it later. All of Tottenham assets right now are don't buy, don't sell.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I'm with you on the don't sell part. I don't know if I'm with you on the don't buy, but I'm not in the situation where I'm actually particularly looking in any case anyway.
People were already moving for Kane and Gazaniga and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that. Callum Wilson hasn't been returning for 4, but the move from Callum Wilson is Tammy Abraham for me. Is this the week to be doing it?
It's not.
Wolves at home for Wilson or Tammy Abraham away at City? It's definitely not. So I'll stick with Callum Wilson for one more week, which then only leaves a question mark around Yarmolenko. And again, Yarmolenko, home tie to Spurs. We need to get a result there. And you've been shaky at the back. So is this the week to be moving on Yarmolenko?
We've got the greatest defensive coach of all time now, haven't we?
You have now, yeah. You'll be 16 men behind the ball.
I don't know if the
all 11 on the pitch.
I don't know if the
and
audio
the bench.
listeners can pick up my audible sarcasm a little bit there.
So Yarmolenko's one that I could potentially look at. I've got 2 free transfers. So I do need to use one of them, and it may end up being Mason Greenwood leaves my bench just to get upgraded to a Connolly or something in time for Gameweek 18, because I don't really want to move anyone else on under pressure. The thing is, I've got 2.7 million in the bank.
Connolly is out of this weekend. That's a definite. FPL Seagull, our Brighton correspondent, confirmed that yesterday. Not him personally. He's obviously picked up news from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I think at the moment Ayew or Mousse would be the better shouts.
Yep. The other issue I have is, who do I sacrifice for a Liverpool attacker in Mane? It can only be because of money. It can only be Kevin De Bruyne or Son. It's impossible to get from Maddison or Mount or Yarmolenko up to Mane. I don't feel like selling Son, and I definitely don't feel like selling KDB. So I may just go without for the next 4 or 5 weeks, which seems mad. Yeah, it seems mad, doesn't it?
I'm biting my hand for such.
I'm in the Dan FPL Chancer.
Yeah.
He started. He put a tweet out yesterday. There was a hashtag trending. I think start an argument in 4 words or something, and he said, "Still got no Leicester." Mine is still no Liverpool attack.
Do you know what I tweeted?
No, I didn't see.
Big at the back. And talking of which, I'm as it stands, I'll be starting with a back 5 this weekend.
Yeah, I'm not. So yeah, it may be a case of Greenwood's the one that I move on and keep the rest in play. Yarmolenko, the only move I'm going to make from Yarmolenko is going to be a sideways move, depending on what I decide to do. It may be Kevin De Bruyne that is the one that gets sacrificed over Son eventually for Mane.
And then you haven't got a single Man City outfield player.
No, exactly. This is why this game becomes a little bit messy and tricky, which is the fun of it all.
I'm not quite sure how you've ended up in this position.
Yeah, but all of the players that I have, bar Callum Wilson, Yarmolenko has actually still returned every other game week since I've had him since wildcard. Callum Wilson's the only one that's blanked every week without fail. Madison's been returning, Mount's been returning, even Son's.
I don't know why you're so short of money, because
I've got 2.7 in the bank.
Okay, I was going to say, like, your bench of Rico, Kelly, Greenwood, McGovern is obviously cheap. But
No,
like, where's the money?
I've got 2.7 in the bank, earning me 0% interest right now.
Right, okay.
So I do have money saved up.
A serious downgrade of, like, I don't know, like a Callum Wilson or something, or you know, one of the things that's fucking your value there, mate? Mm-hmm. It's Edison in goal. Yeah,
it is, but he's also set and forget where I don't even need to think about it.
I'm not against it, to be honest. In terms of possibly moving the Heaton on, I've considered it as a move myself.
So I'm back into my slow and steady. I'm going to be hitting 50 to 55 points every week, and never getting higher and never getting lower, as was last year. Which is what happens when you spread your funds thin and you don't have the explosiveness in any one particular asset. It's going to really rely on me getting my captaincy right. This week I'm leaving it on Jamie Vardy.
I think I'm going Vardy as well.
Lewis Dunk's out with suspension.
Although Adam Webster, we believe, might be fit now, which would be a massive boost to Brighton. I think if Webster was definitely out, which we're probably not going to get the news now, then I would definitely be Vardy. I think I'm going to go Vardy anyway, just because of some of the openness that Brighton have showed in some of the bigger
Leicester are going to take the game
season.
to them. They've got this attacking mindset, right? They take the game by the scruff of the neck. I don't think it's going to be a very high scoring week. I think I just slightly favour Vardy to return at Brighton more than Mane at Palace.
But it's all right to go the other way. I think it's close. For me, the very best captaincy option of the weekend would be Aubameyang.
Statistically, it's Aubameyang, but when you work off the eye test and you know how unreliable and untrustworthy Arsenal are, I don't like moving to teams that are unreliable or hit and miss, and Arsenal can be really hit and miss. Should we talk about the differential team?
Yeah, we can do.
Doing all right?
Had a really good week last week.
Yes.
72 points for a game week rank of 342,000, up to 673,000 now after a bit of a dip the week before. Brilliant midfield performance. 10, 16, 26, 34, 50 points from the midfield five, including Son captaincy return. Martial, Tielemans, Richarlison, Pulisic, all doing the business.
Jimenez, Chilwell. That's when you've got 7 returners out of 11. That's a decent week.
Yeah, absolutely. So really good week there. We've got some defensive issues. Bearing in mind we've got Alonso and Mendy, and Jamal Lascelles is out for 2 months.
Yep.
We've got 2 free transfers. I would like to buy for Lascelles and Alonso 2 defenders who are owned by under 1% of owners. They are Charlie Taylor, who I think if anybody listened to Clash of the Correspondents yesterday will know I think Jack kind of supported it. I know Claret FPL has supported it earlier in the week as well. Probably the best go-to cheap defender at the moment.
Yep.
He can sit there as a 5th defender in this team.
Yeah, I'm not against that at all.
It allows us a bit of budget, and I want to get a bit more in there, and I'll explain why in a second.
Yep.
And the other one I'd like to get in for Alonso, because on the previous week's Clash of the Correspondents, Ted was very firm, wasn't he, about Emerson being first choice now?
Yes, and I think he picks him when he's there. So, do you want to go to Emerson? Do you?
No.
Oh, okay.
I want to go to Hector Bellerin.
Oh, but you want to sell Alonso? I
want to go Hector Bellerin.
Bellerin.
Yeah, I think...
Not Tierney?
No, I think Bellerin's more secure than the argument with Tierney and Kolasinac. Bellerin, competition-wise, has got obviously Callum Chambers had been playing there. And obviously previously, before that, Ainsley, Maitland-Niles. Now, neither are right-backs. They've pissed their Europa League section, basically, so that's not a concern. So they've got 4 really good fixtures coming up, Arsenal. I think Bellerin, 5.4. And it will leave us a bit of money in the bank where we need to start opening our eyes. I mentioned to you about Callum Wilson is down to below 10% ownership.
Yeah.
Roberto Firmino is also nearing the below 10% threshold where we could buy. And if Firmino drops below, he's an instant to get into the differential team.
He is. He hasn't been returning as frequently more recently, but he is still a decent option. In the differential team, where we only buy players that are owned by less than 10%, budget is rarely an issue. So someone like Firmino, who you wouldn't normally have because you get better value at 8 million with Abraham or even in the 7s, isn't really a regular FPL option probably, but for the differential team, I don't see why not.
And chances are we'll have to move on Jimenez, I think, because obviously there's growing support in the community. He's up to 14% ownership now. He probably just needs a return tomorrow, and we may have to move him on anyway. So I'm conscious of having the money to get up from Jimenez to Firmino, possibly.
I would say go with Bellerin. We've got 4 good fixtures for the Gooners in Southampton at home, Norwich away, Brighton at home, West Ham away. But I also feel like Arsenal could concede in all of these games quite easily because they're just Arsenal. So we might see some attacking returns from him, but they do need to find the regular right back in Bellerin to play. So I'm not averse to it. If I'd done a bit more, I still like Tierney more than I like Bellerin, but
I'm against it
because you don't think he's going to play.
No, I think he probably will, but I do feel there's still competition there with Kolasinac where it's not clear. Where on the other side, Bellerin's basically vice captain to Aubameyang now, isn't he? After the Xhaka incident, I feel a lot more confident of that.
From a rotation point of view, Bellerin definitely is more likely to play. When Kolasinac plays, it's still when I dip in and out of Arsenal Fan TV, they're still confused as to why Kyler's getting in ahead of Tierney. So yeah, Emery probably still does have a bit of a soft spot for Kolasinac, always trying to break Tierney in slowly rather than play him week in, week out.
If that's badly wrong, we'll soon jump it. Same
Yeah,
price,
exactly.
basically.
And we've got
So
4 weeks. I think if we buy them 4 weeks and then they've got City, and at that point we may want to move them on anyway, because then they're away at Everton. They've got a few tough games over the Christmas run.
Captaincy choice for the differential team. It's between two, in my opinion. Lacazette at home to Southampton.
Lacazette.
Or one that's proving very subtly popular for a few people. Richarlison at home to Norwich.
Now, I'm very tempted to buy Richarlison in the Sky Fantasy Football game for Pepe. I do have the money to get from Pepe to Richarlison. So I've got a sneaky on Richarlison. I actually quite like Richarlison as the shout. Lacazette, I'm just not feeling Arsenal, if I'm honest with you, across the board. I just find that I hate the hit and miss that you get with them. And they really annoy me when they should be winning games and they end up drawing or losing. They are a frustrating side to own players from Arsenal. Richarlison, they're at home, right? Everton.
So are Arsenal.
No. But I think Everton perform better at home than they do away. Having said that, just having one away. I think Richarlison. If we're going to be differential, let's be differential. Richarlison. Ricky.
Lacazette's a differential as well, mate.
He is. But Richarlison, I think, will have less armbands on him.
Lacazette at 1.7% ownership is a far bigger differential than Richarlison. Just a point on Richarlison and Everton. I have seen a little bit of momentum from some shrewdies in a difficult captaincy week to be looking at Richarlison. Just a reminder that their fixtures after Norwich this weekend are Leicester away, Liverpool away, Chelsea at home, Manchester United away, Arsenal at home. They then follow that with Burnley at home, Newcastle away, Man City away. Have a very difficult run on paper coming up, Everton.
They really do, eh?
So I'll go with Richarlison captain and possibly selling him for Zaha next week.
And then the North v South. I had a good week last week, again, helped by Vardy captaincy. So now the gap has opened up even more. Let's have a look here. 607 plays 547, 60 points.
Yeah, so I'm going to...
Sorry, that's Manchild's team.
Oh, easy.
57 points.
57. All right, okay.
Still plenty.
All right, I've still got wild card in hand and stuff, although I don't really know what I want to do with this shit. I think I'm going to make 2 free transfers this week. Pepe to, drum roll, Mesut Ozil. I'm just going to take a punt on it, mate. And
It's averagely cheap. Why do you get Pulisic instead of Ozil, man?
Well, I've got 3 Chelsea players.
Oh, okay. Who have you got?
Tamori, Mount and Abraham.
Oh, okay.
And I'm playing Man City away, so I'm not desperate
it's
to
probably
fire
not.
that in.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to go for another gooner. One I've already mentioned, Hector Bellerin. I'm going to get in for Lewis Dunk is suspended. Brighton have a difficult run of fixtures where, from a rotation perspective in this Southern team of mine, I don't see me starting him too many games. So again, going to gamble on that for a few weeks or so. So yeah, I might think twice on Ozil. I can't believe I'm even saying it. But yeah, I need to propel something in there. The previous week, I took a punt on Redmond. Didn't really pay off. And I got Rico in as well. So squad is looking a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, that Pepe sitting there, I just can't let it sit there no more, man.
I'm comfortable with my back 4. Lundstrom, Trent, Robbo, Pope. Pretty much the same as my regular team other than Pope in goal. And I also have Charlie Taylor. I bought Charlie Taylor probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Lucky bugger.
I don't even know what I bought him for. Maybe 4.1 at the time, 4.2. I don't know. But yeah, so Charlie Taylor's there. Then in midfield, Mane, De Bruyne. McTominay's got a flag at the moment, so I'm not too excited about that. Vardy and Aguero. So I think I'll be playing Charlie Taylor this week and dropping Dendoncker to the bench. Selling Pookie. And probably buying one of the Burnley boys, Chris Wood or Ashley Barnes. Flip a coin, probably Chris Wood. And then I need to think about McTominay. And what
again, after what Jack said on Clash of the Correspondents yesterday, I would favour
Wood. Yeah, me too. So I think Chris Wood will be coming in. And then Vardy, Wood and Aguero is a decent front line. Mane, De Bruyne and another. So then I'll be fairly happy with my team. Obviously, I need to think about.
I'm in competition with you. I ain't advising you on that team.
I need to think about game week 18, which will affect me way more than it will affect you. But then if I've got a 100-point lead by then, what does it matter? Fighting talk.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much. What else? What else has been happening this week? Anything else been happening this week?
So Sid and I live streamed Tuesday night, and we'd pre-recorded. We kind of finished off work 5:30. We sat down with Dan Cox, recorded the Sky podcast, and we had Stephen and Jack come on, recorded Clash of the Correspondents.
Yeah.
We had something to eat really quickly. Suj went and set up the stream for the live
Wales
stream of the
hungry.
Wales game, so we could go on YouTube. I went to the fridge to get some beers, looked at Twitter. Boom. Pochettino sacked, or I should correct, relieved of his duties because he's still being paid by Tottenham at the moment.
Is he?
Yeah.
Until when?
Well, it means if someone wants to get him now, they've basically got to pay the whole compensation.
Oh, okay.
So he probably won't join anyone else probably till next summer, at which point I think it's for 6 months.
Right.
So next summer, I don't think Tottenham would be entitled to any money. I'm not sure how they're entitled to any money anyway if they've sacked him.
Yeah, it seems a bit contractual
yeah,
bullshit,
very much so.
Basically.
I think Pochettino could do with a break from football personally.
Yeah.
The reaction to the people who watched the stream was that I handled the situation pretty well, and most people seem to agree with my feelings. I was probably in focus of shit, we've got to do this live stream. Hadn't really let it sink in. The listeners will know I'd said that if it happened, it would be Mourinho.
Yeah,
My only doubt on that was, would Mourinho take the job if he was offered it?
We didn't know at the time when we did the live stream that Mourinho had been appointed. That came out the following morning. But we pretty much, like, the bookies at 1-3 and 1-4 odds, they're not mugs. They knew it was Mourinho.
We weren't wrong about the quick appointment either.
There was no doubt that they'd been talking about it prior to Poch being relieved of his duties. No doubt whatsoever. It was interesting. I think it's been going on for a few weeks, if I'm honest with you, because of what Mourinho said in his press conference.
I reckon the talk started after the draw with Watford, which was game week 9.
So yesterday in the press conference, he was talking about taking over a club mid-season, and he'd known for the last 3 or 4 weeks that he would be taking a club on mid-season, which he'd only done once before in his career. Well, if he's known about it for 4 weeks, it means he's been having talks for 4 weeks.
Oh, yeah, this has been... I think if an agreement hadn't been reached yet, Pochettino would have managed a team at West Ham this weekend, and then
It'd just been the week
would have
after.
come afterwards. Yeah, I think it was obviously done. On Pochettino, first thing to say is Jose Mourinho is manager of Tottenham because of Maurizio Pochettino, because of how he's raised the profile of the football club over the last 5 years. You have to remember that when Poch walked in the door, it was an absolute broken mess following AVB and the laughable short stint of Tim Sherwood. With a load of disgruntled, egotistical players who cared far more about themselves than the team. You might argue that's the same situation now. But it took him a while to bin a lot of players out the door. He revolutionised the style with the bringing in of youth players, originally Ryan Mason, Bill Bentaleb, then Harry Kane. His improvement of players, particularly in the fullback areas, think of Carl Walker and Danny Rose, really uplifted and gave Tottenham fans a belief and a belonging in the football club that had not been there. Well, probably there was a short period under Martin Jol, people were beginning to feel that again. But otherwise, probably going back to the early 80s, even like before my time, when Pochettino had his first press conference, the message that came out of it was, I want to make you proud of this football team. That's absolutely what he did. And for a couple of years, we played probably the best football in this country. And that's why people were really upset. On reflection, looking at it more, I think it's been bad for a long time. Again, I think the regular listeners will know it's been bad for quite a while.
Yeah, at least a year.
Yeah, it's not been great. And the Champions League run very much disguised awful league results. We've got from the 17 teams that have, or is it 14 teams that have been It will be 17 teams, won't it? Have been in the league the whole of this calendar year. Tottenham have the worst record of any side.
Yeah, when you look at the numbers, I think is it 25 points from 24 games and stuff. You can't argue with the sacking.
It's the points return of 14 from 12 games is embarrassing. It's not acceptable. I think the absolute killer for Pochettino was, I think things started to unravel from the book we did with Balogun, and I don't think we realised it at the time, where I think a lot of the things that Pochettino said in that, I think a lot of players would have gone, what are you talking about, mate? It just little things start causing rifts. And I think one of the major criticisms of the team at the moment has been, there's quite a few players running out of contracts, etc. Are they committed to the club? Pochettino made a brutal mistake before the Champions League final when he said that he would walk out if we won. Now, nobody really knows if he meant it or not. I'm personally very confident that if Tottenham had beaten Liverpool, he would have walked out.
There was talk about the Real Madrid job at the time, and when you have a manager like that, inevitably you always do get talk around it.
I think what that did when he said that was it created a bubble problem within the squad, that if he's thinking that, why shouldn't I be thinking it? Because I think the look on it was, if Pochettino had won the Champions League with Tottenham, you would look at it with a little bit of common sense and go, what can I do now? Okay, yeah, I can win the Premier League, but actually against Guardiola and Klopp's current teams, like near impossible, right? So what can you actually do to improve? So I think there was some sense in the idea of moving on. The problem was, I think every player then looked at that and went, yeah, shit, this is as good as it's ever going to be.
Yeah.
I think even some of the supporters went to the game that day thinking, this is as good as it will ever be. One of the things I had in my mind before the Champions League final, when I recorded my own audio in the run-up to the game, one of the things I said is, I don't really know what life will be on the other side if we win. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you do? What do you do? If you're a club like ours, we're not a giant in the sort of Manchester United, Real Madrid sense. What do you do as a football club once you've won the Champions League? There's only one way it can go.
Yeah, I mean, look at Leicester. They won the league. Then they had a couple of years of still being all right, but never going to hit that height again. So it took them a little bit of time to settle down, and now they're trying to push on again.
The killer for me has been the performance at Brighton was the worst performance under Pochettino. And I think those who've been listening to Tottenham would have noticed the difference in things that I've been saying the last couple of weeks, where we've almost kind of joked, eventually he's going to go here, isn't he? The Sheffield United game killed me in terms of how well Sheffield United were coached, and me looking at the same players that were producing such brilliant technical and tactical football a couple of years ago.
Is Mourinho a coach?
Yes.
Because his title's head coach, everything that's been coming out of Tottenham, and the way he's referred to himself, even in the press conference, was head coach. And I think they're doing that on purpose, right? Coach.
Yeah, he's following the line at the moment, isn't he, about not buying players? And
yeah.
I think...
But there's more than just, okay, you're pointing a start point as potentially the book. On one side, you've built a good, really, really good, world-class infrastructure within the club in terms of a new stadium, training ground, etc., but it sucked away the transfer budget, which is understandable. Like, Wenger dealt with that so well during the Arsenal time. But that stuff that's going on behind the scenes, I think, has affected the manager.
Yeah, I think he's noticeably changed, probably in the months leading up to the Champions League final. I think there was the incident at Burnley, wasn't there, with what's his name, dickhead referee? I've forgotten. How can I forget?
Oliver?
No. Mike Dean.
Mike Dean, sorry.
And obviously the results have been really bad since then. That was the first time you kind of see him really lose his cool. I think Pochettino became very frustrated with the fact that the team got close on several occasions, particularly in sort of like FA Cup semi-finals and that kind of thing. Really, although he made some selections in both the Chelsea and Man United semi-finals at Wembley, where he was very much partially to blame himself. think in closing, the decision to relieve him of his duties on reflection is the right decision. It wasn't improving. It wasn't going to get any better. I've said a number of times the football has been very basic and not great for 18 months.
So let's talk about your tweet then. Your club have sold their soul.
Yeah, which has had a bit of reaction. People found it a bit dramatic. That's fine. What I meant by the club sold its soul is this is the price now of trying to be successful and win. I think it's the wrong appointment. I think it doesn't fit in with the team that we need to try and be, which for us to maintain a challenge with the other sides in and around the top four is to continue to invest in youth and technical qualities and have a high energy team. I'm very concerned that with Mourinho, when I said about saying it's nothing to do with the fact he managed Chelsea, I ain't bothered about that. Honestly, I couldn't care less. Arsenal's my rival. I'm very concerned about all the stuff that comes with him. So far, he's played the wooden bat well, and I haven't got any complaints about that. He said the right things about Pochettino, etc. I don't want all the histrionics that comes with him. That's not my football club. When Chelsea went and challenged for the title for really the first time under him, they were desperate to do it by any means necessary. And that first incarnation of Chelsea's team with like Robbins and etc. was quite a good team. The argument is always, right, if it's winning every week, that won't be boring. I'm sure every Chelsea fan who went through those, particularly the first 2 years of the first title winning team, didn't find that boring at all. There is a label that he's obviously a boring coach. He's a very defensive coach. People keep telling me that he's alternated style depending on who he's managed. So Inter Milan was very much a low block. At Real Madrid, they had a very quick and attacking, counter-attacking team. My greatest concern is what I've seen recently. I don't think that Jose Mourinho is the manager that managed at Chelsea 15 years ago. I think the game was at a time following sort of Greece's European Championship win in 2004 where defensive football could rule. I think the game has changed beyond that. I keep, people saying, let's look at Tottenham defensive assets. He kept 2 clean sheets in his last 19 league games for Manchester United. He bought Eric Bailly. He bought Victor Lindelof. He bought Paul Pogba. He bought a lot of those players at Manchester United around the myth of he never had any money, didn't buy his own players, etc. And United were a shambles. We said on this podcast before they lost to Chelsea in the FA Cup final when they'd finished second, that if they lost that final, he was in trouble. Already that early, we were calling it because Manchester United have to be winning trophies. Different project now at Tottenham because the need for success is not as immediate. But I'm very concerned that the game has changed from that era when Mourinho was very successful between sort of 2000
You're going to say sexy there. He's still sexy.
He's
the best-looking manager in the league.
He's an attractive human. I don't have a problem with that. Between 2004 and 2012-ish, I think the game has developed since then. Now, obviously, he came back into Chelsea, did it a second time later on. I get that. It also went to complete pot the following season when Leicester won it.
True. Look, from an outsider's point of view, and I consider myself, as a West Ham fan, I could easily be irrational about Spurs. I'm rational about Spurs. Initially, I can see I'm very split in my opinion on Mourinho because there's arguments for and there's arguments against. Let me give you, from a opponent's point of view, am I more worried about Tottenham tomorrow than I was with Pochettino? The answer is yes, because Mourinho goes to win games, and if he doesn't go to win games, he definitely first actually goes not to lose games. So now I think you're going to come with the mindset of, all right, if we don't get a win here, that's okay, but we're definitely not going to lose today. Which means, either it'll be a bit of a dull game, but you will set up defensively to nullify us.
I think, in fairness to Mourinho, it was going to be a dull game anyway.
Sure. Am I more worried about Spurs with Mourinho as the manager than Poch at that time? Yes, 100%. I'm more worried about Mourinho. He's had a year out of football. I don't think he's unintelligent. He sees the games and he understands tactically what's going on.
Oh, he's a student.
So do I think he can adapt his style to the modern game and the Premier League as it is? I actually do think that he will be able to. I think he will be able to pull certain players back on side that weren't because of the way that he is a good man manager. The issue is, if things go wrong, they seem to go wrong very rapidly and descend into this spiral of crap. I had to listen to AFTV where Robbie and DT were talking about Mourinho's appointment. And Robbie asked the question to DT, are you scared? Are you more scared of Spurs now that Mourinho has been appointed? And his point of view was the opposite. Nah, forget about it, because he's washed up, has been. His time at Manchester United was just awful. He hasn't developed in his coaching. So a lot of the things that you have said. Now,
please don't put me on the same as DT.
But I can see that, and it's logical. And the things that you're saying there, 2 clean sheets in 19 and so on, are also arguments. So the ultimate thing that it boils back down to for me is that Mourinho has taken the job at Spurs, and what you said is very interesting. He's taken the job at Spurs because of what Poch did to raise Spurs' level. But Spurs are not in the category of United, Real Madrid, any of these clubs, and that's where he has been. Maybe Chelsea were breaking into. He's got a point to prove here. I think he's come in there to say, watch me do it with Spurs and take Spurs into that category. He's got a point to prove. So I reckon he's highly, highly, highly motivated. We talked about the infrastructure that you've been building behind the scenes. It's world class, right? So if you now can break into that, the thing is, to be considered in that category, you need trophies and consistency over a 5, 7, 10-year period to finally say, okay, you've made it. 1 trophy is not enough, or 2 trophies is not enough. So I think he's motivated. I think he's intelligent enough. He's definitely box office. You're going to lose less games. At the same time, it's when things start going wrong that they can go really wrong. And that's when, it is a difficulty. Right here, right now, ultimately, am I more worried about Spurs now that you have got Mourinho? Unlike DT, my answer is yes, I am more worried. So I've gone from earlier in the week thinking 3-0 Spurs and maybe 3-1 or 3-2 because we could nick a couple of goals, to 1-0. We're not scoring tomorrow because he's going to set up not to concede and you will get a goal. Once you've got your goal, you ain't going to do nothing. You're going to sit there and just like pass the ball around and keep it sweet. So my predictions change, but I still think, Spurs with Mourinho is a bigger, better bet.
Let me close by saying this. The bond generated between Pochettino and the Spurs supporters was absolutely massive, and I think that's the number one reason why the majority of Spurs fans are so disappointed at the moment. For all the negative things I've said about Mourinho, one of the things he said in the press conference yesterday was he said nobody wants Tottenham to be more successful than he does. Right, that's wrong.
That's a soundbite.
Jose,
that's a
trust
soundbite,
me,
isn't it?
you don't want Tottenham to win more than I do. I will give Mourinho my full backing. When it goes wrong in 2-3 years, I'm not going to sit here and say, I told you so. Because I think we all know that in 3 years, that probably will happen.
You might have a couple of trophies on the board.
My genuine belief is that Mourinho believes in his madness that he can win the league for Tottenham. Obviously not this season. He's not come in to try and win a League Cup and an FA Cup. The understanding is that he could have walked back into the Real Madrid job. He believes he can do this. I believe that he believes that he can do it.
And is motivated to,
I just don't believe that he can do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you. But you want a manager that can believe it.
I've said my piece. That's it. I won't. The football at Tottenham's been crap for a long time.
Can't get worse.
We need to look. Well, there is that, right? So I'm absolutely prepared to give him my full backing. I won't judge him until 11, 12 months from now. And then I'll let you know if I'm unhappy or unhappy. Between now and then, I will give him my backing and we'll talk about it from tactical aspect and an FPL aspect. And let's review it then. He's got my backing. It wasn't my choice, but I'm not going to change it. So he's got my backing. If singing his name will help that team, I will do it.
My final thought, Daniel Levy, we know, is a businessman, shrewd as hell. Tottenham's profile around the world, having Mourinho, is going to skyrocket.
I told you he would go for him.
Is going to skyrocket, like in Asia and places like that, where people know Mourinho as a name and a celebrity. Tottenham will get more spotlight, and that is part and parcel of football nowadays as well, getting the money coming in. So
this is the Daniel Levy final plan.
Correct. And then what, you think he's gonna step down soon?
I think there's every chance that the club is in the wheels of motion of being sold. I genuinely think that it's open now. You are absolutely right about what you say about Mourinho and the profile of the club, trying to get stadium, naming rights, etc., etc. It all adds to that. As much as I'm disappointed with the appointment of Mourinho, in terms of immediate gains for the football club, we know historically what he is capable of. And it might have a dramatic effect in the next 18 to 24 months where Tottenham perform certainly well above the level that we're seeing at the moment. Couple of players to keep a real eye on in the next couple of weeks. One is Son in terms of his positioning. The other, I strongly believe, is Dele Alli. Keep an eye for Dele Alli in the next couple of months. I believe tactically that Mourinho won't change the wheel. It will very much be 4-2-3-1. I think the first thing he will do is something I'd suggested a couple of months ago before the Brighton game, but failed miserably. But the only person in that squad that he has who is capable of playing that real, absolute, non-movable, destructive defensive midfield role is Eric Dyer. I think he'll put Dyer back into holding midfield. I think Alderweireld will come back into the team. I think Eriksen will come back into the team.
4-2-3-1 for Mourinho. 4 centre-backs, 2 full-backs, 3 defensive midfielders, and Harry Kane. There we go.
I said I wouldn't judge, but the moment I see Heung-min Son playing at left back, we've got a problem.
We have I'm with you on that. Guys, thanks for tuning in to The Final Plan this Friday. If you want to jump on Twitter and interact with @PlanetFPL Pod, @SusanShah, please do. There's been plenty of Tottenham talk and Mourinho talk in the last few days anyway, so let's not rinse that towel dry anymore. We'll be posting our teams if we get James will definitely if I get around to it later on today on the Friday. Probably radio silence tomorrow because it is Planet FPL Derby Day, and I'm nervous, James less so, but I'll be interested to see Mourinho's first game. I'll give you a full match report on Tottenham next week.
Tottenham on Tuesday should be very, very interesting.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. So thank you for all the support. Do like the show, subscribe, notification bell, comments, anything and everything wherever you see it. And we'll see you next week. Ciao for now.
Cue music, man child. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Irons.
The Fantasy Football Show.